Hey everybody, this is Brian. Welcome to Chill Night Live. Now, I'm going to need a little bit of feedback because I just did an update of OBS right before the show. So, I'm not real sure if the intro, I was trying to get the intro to come on, so hopefully you could hear that. Hopefully you can hear me. Stephanie says, hey, y'all. Hey, Stephanie, thanks for joining us. And there's my beautiful bride, Ava. Hello. She says, hello. So there you are. Thank you for, oh, and I get a wave. I get a wave. All right. So, oh, and also, Patty says, yay, music is fixed. All right. I did it. All right. I'm so happy. So thank you for joining us, Patty. Dee says good evening to everyone. She could not be here with us tonight, but she did message me prior to this. The storm that came through northwest Pennsylvania wiped out her power and internet, so she could just get in touch with me on her phone, I guess. So, but yes, here we are tonight. Hopefully, if any of you were in the path of the storm, I know a lot of people are without power, or down trees, and so forth. So hopefully many of you didn't get affected too drastically if you were in the path. We did pretty well, Ava and I. We it was weird. It was all around us. We were like in this little force bubble. Look, protected force bubble. I think. I don't know. Ava was describing it kind of like that, I guess. Maybe not in so much words, but yeah, everything was kind of going around us. We could see it. We went out on the porch, was looking, and it just, just kind of going around us. So I'm not complaining. Bonehead says, hey, hello, Chill Night crew, Brian and Miss Ava. Hey, Bonehead, thanks for joining us. PBR's giving me the wave. Hey, PBR, thanks for joining us. Paul says, hey there, Chiller family. How's everyone doing? Good, Paul. Thanks for joining us tonight. Good to see you here tonight. I'm still looking for Renee. I wonder has anybody heard from Renee? Hope Renee's doing okay. Last I knew, she was going in for her shoulder surgery. So Tom says, hey, gang. Hey, Tom, thanks for joining us. Yeah, it's kind of weird. But, no predetermined topic tonight, so BYOT, bring your own topic and throw it out there. We'll make a show out of it tonight. Doesn't have to be the main topic of the night. We can zig and zag and all that fun stuff. So Stephanie says, we got storms here in Ohio. Thankfully, we got oil lamps, candles, modern lanterns. Yes, I'm glad you have all those things. Are you without power? I mean, it sounds like it from that, and flashlights and a basement in case of tornado. Yes, those all come in handy for just such an occasion under those emergency situations. John says portions of tonight's show will be shown in front of a live audience. It's Tuesday night, and at the top of the hour, it's time again for Chiller Night Live. This is the life-size replica of Crozak the Grand, and now here's our full-time host, Bryan Hogue. Thank you, life-size replica of Crozak the Grand, and John's giving a wave. So Paul says, my uncle in Porterville, Ohio, had siding ripped off his house. He is okay. I'm glad he's okay. Yes, property can be replaced. Though people can't, obviously. Ava says, I heard 100,000 were without power in Ohio. Wow. That is crazy. Don't walk away, Renee. Yeah, Tom, I was just reading it. I don't know if that's how it goes, but I heard it in my head. Yeah, Renee, if you're watching us at a later time, drop us give me a message, give me a little comment. Let me know everything's well. PBR says the debut of the Ethernaut tomorrow. There's no H in there. Ethernaut. ETEERNAUT tomorrow. So hope Netflix does it well. Fingers crossed. Um, what is that? I vaguely remember something about that, but I don't know. I remember hearing something about that, but it's very vague because I really am sitting here trying to strain the brain, trying to figure out what that is. But whatever it is, if it's something you like, and many do, apparently, if they're making a show out of it, I hope Netflix does it perfect. Paul says, Brian, was it a Doracho? What? Doracho. Jason says, good evening, my fellow ghouls, and to our ghoulish leader, the Honorable Bryan Hogue. Oh, honorable! I'm going to get like promoted tonight. And to the ruler of the dark domain, Jack Shadow. Yes! Jack up there in the very tippy top of his castle. You can see him moving around in the air. Up to no good, I'm sure. I'm sure. Good evening, Jason. Thanks for joining us. Or was it straight line windstorm, Paul says. I don't know what derecho is. I'm not sure if that's weather vernacular that I'm unaccustomed to. We had tornado watches going on all around us, and just like very high winds, lightning, a lot of lightning. So I'm not sure if where the closest tornado touched down, but Patty says Dorchester can be worse than tornadoes. Dorchester. Everyone okay, I hope. I have never heard of a Dorchester, but I'm glad we didn't get them, whatever that is. I've heard of tornadoes plenty, or microburst. We've had those in the area, somewhat in the area. Paul says, hey there, Stephanie, 90-mile-per-hour windstorm. Wow, that's pretty strong. Tom says, I'll be able to see Jack Shadow up on that castle much better when 8K TVs get affordable. I didn't even know they had 8K TVs out. That's that's kind of crazy, isn't it? It'd almost be like, so you ever see the video quality of where it almost seems like you're watching something live? It doesn't seem filtered anymore. I can only imagine that must be what that's like. I'm guessing. I don't know. Stephanie says, when I see a lightning, I count to 12 until I hear a boom. Oh, yeah? I don't know. I suppose that's a pretty substantial distance then. All right. So, for now, I'm glad everyone's here. Everyone's safe. Everyone is reasonably unaffected by the massive storms that have rolled through. So, unfortunately, like I said, Dee has been affected, so she won't be here tonight because she lost power. But Jason says, May 31st, 1985 was a dark day in northwestern Pennsylvania. Tornadoes. Was that the tornado that went through the cherry tree area and wiped out the big patch of trees? I remember that night, if that's the night you're talking about. I would imagine, because I remember seeing pictures of Mount St. Helens and all the trees that were just flattened. And I remember, every time you're going from Oil City to Titusville and you're looking at that whole big patch of land, all those trees were just laid down. The Eternaut, PBR says, is a very famous comic from the 70s from Argentina. He wrote while on the run from his government. The Argentinian government killed him and his family for his works. You or somebody, I imagine it might have been you, was talking about that, I think, last week. So, all right, maybe that's where I heard that. Interesting. Each second represents 1 mile, Paul says. Okay, for the lightning. Interesting. Patty says, sorry, I meant Doracho, not Dorchester. Okay. John says, question for everyone. What are your plans for the Force of May. I like the Force of May, 4th of May, which is Star Wars Day. I don't know. I wonder if it falls on a Tuesday. Let me see. Oh, if it does, we're talking Star Wars. Oh, no, it's on a Sunday. All right, it's on a Sunday. I will probably be working on the haunted house. Let's see. Heidi says hi. H.A.N. Murdoch. Hey, Heidi, thanks for joining us. She's on Facebook. Some of you are on Facebook. Some of you are on YouTube. And you cannot see each other, but I will intercede. I will see all and tell all and read all. PBR says Netflix is doing the Eat or Not as a series, and it starts tomorrow. Okay, cool. Is it an American production? I wonder. Patty says a derecho is a storm with tornado-like conditions and winds with no visible funnel shape. Oh. Jason says, yes, Cherry Tree was hit hard. Unreal to see every time going to and from Taizo. Yeah, I remember that night. I remember that night well. Yeah, that was that was quite a night. What night was it? You say May 31st, 1985. Yeah. Tomorrow I'm celebrating halfway to Halloween, Stephanie says. Halfway? Is that tomorrow? Wow. Tomorrow. Interesting. Paul says, thanks, Pat, for that clarification on the storm. Yeah, I had never heard of that term. So, interesting. Amy says, hey, Brian. Hey, Amy, thanks for joining us. Thank you for joining us. We are, gosh, I can't believe, we're already 13 minutes into the show, and we're just kind of just talking about the storms, because the storms have occurred tonight. And Eat or Not, if I'm saying that right, PBR says, a new series going on to Netflix beginning tomorrow, so hope that turns out well. And you know, speaking of shows, I'm going to mention Chiller Night Theater every Saturday night at 9 p.m. On Stream TV, you can watch that at streammedia.tv. Streammedia.tv. 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Stream TV. You can watch 4 episodes, 4 different chiller movies hosted by Jack Shadow and occasionally by myself as a stand-in host. So, but most are Jack Shadow. So check it out, and hopefully, speaking of Chiller Night Theater, hopefully we will be having, at least that is my plan, to have Chiller Night Theater kind of make a relaunch, even if it's a limited time. But I'd like to bring Chiller Night Theater back in some capacity, in some way, shape, or form, sometime probably in the late summer. So I'm working hard on that, as well as there's the new episodes I'd like to do, expanding the haunted house. I'll be expanding a pretty good amount of the haunted house, utilizing like every bit of the store. Some of the space I had for like birthday parties or, you know, photo op area, no more. None of that. No, I'm going to fill that up with haunt. And also, at the same time, I'll be making another escape room. So that is in the works. And also, something that will be taking up some time as well is the display haunt. And that's a big project of mine. And I'm hoping I can get that done before the end of September. So we'll see about that. Let's see. Bona says, they said Doracho. I thought Dorito and got hungry. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Dorito. They sound much better than Dorachos. PBR says, no, it's an Argentinian production. The family that survived wanted it done in country. Ah, okay. That is crazy. They killed him for it for the content in the comic books, or did he do other like film or writings that got him in trouble with the government? That's crazy to think about, isn't it? Paul says, Lady Frankenstein was the second movie. I love the ending. Yeah. Everything fell apart. Paul says, Brian, please show Manos as the first movie if you bring the show back the show, please. Well, we did Manos as one of the Chiller Nights. I know that's on YouTube. It has. I'm sure it's on. I won't look, but I'm sure that's on YouTube. I think I was hosting it. I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe it was one of those where Jack Shadow was hosting it. Tom says, "Oh, Lady Frankenstein." I love that title. I did an autocorrect. John says, "Has anyone seen?" I do the autocorrect quite a bit, as much as I can. Anyways, John says, "Has anyone seen the pictures of the latest Predator from the upcoming movie?" Yeah, I did. It looks a lot sleeker. Like his head. Normally, his head looks a bit kind of filled out, but this one looks kind of sleek. Heidi says, "Doritos are the devil." Devil? Doritos are the devil? There's another autocorrect. Unless maybe the devil. Hey, I'm hearing new words tonight, so you never know. You never know. You know, one of the things I've been hearing, it's just kind of a viral thing. Have you seen this? Who would win in a fight? 100 men against one gorilla. Who would win? I have my opinions. I'd like to know what yours are, and then I'll share mine. Paul says, that was the best live show you've done. We had a blast with it. Remember? Yeah, that was fun. That was fun. We did quite a bit of those. Yeah. And the new Chiller Nights, Chiller Night Theaters, we'll be doing some live ones here coming up this summer as well. Brad says, the weather is finally letting up now that is awesome, but nothing more awesome as the 1931 horror films Dracula and Frankenstein coming to the public domain in 2027. Well, that's right around the corner. So, hey, speaking of storms and the weather and all that, Brad, I hope everything was okay up your way. So, hope you didn't get hit too hard with the weather. But Tom says, yes, Chiller Night Theater, Manos still up. Okay, awesome. Well, there you go. There we go. Yeah, that was a fun episode. I thought it was up there. I don't remember if it was me or if it was Jack Shadow who hosted that one. There was a sort of a blur at times as far as like I forget who hosted what. PBR says, I believe they got him for his collective works. Wow. Isn't that crazy to think about? Wow. Jason says, Manos was on Chiller Night 2 years ago. Brian was the host in a tux. Ah, okay. Well, there you go. There you go. So it was me standing in for the Jack Shadow. Jack assigned me Manos in the hands of fate. And I was all too willing to help him out. So glad you guys had a good time with that one. Stephanie says, I won't fight a gorilla, don't ask me. Yeah. It was windy, Brad says. I bet it was. It was here too. Paul says, has anyone else seen the reboot of Manos on Tubi? Very cool. I have not. Yeah, that's a good question. I'm interested now. Has anybody seen the reboot of Manos on Tubi? What was it? So it was a reboot, not a sequel. I take it. Is that what is that what it was? Like a total reboot, or was it a sequel that just happened to take place like 50 years later? Um, hmm. All right. 100 men versus one gorilla. Who would win? Who would win? Let's say that the area is confined. The gorilla, with the great speed that it has, can't get away. Kind of a gladiator type of scenario where you're in this closed, confined area. Yeah, some area there's 100 people, 101, combatants. Who would win? Just hand to hand. The hands of hand to hand. The hands of ape. You sent me the poster for a sequel. So okay, so it's a sequel. It was a sequel. Okay, you said when you said reboot, I thought maybe it was a relaunch. John Wayne says hello, everyone. My computer is acting up again today. So SBC is John Wayne. Is that? I assume this is SBC is John Wayne. Uh, by the way, it's me, SBC. All right. Yes, you're John Wayne again tonight. So, all right. Well, regardless of your name, your moniker, we're just happy to have you with us. So, Jason says the new Manos was a sequel, not a reboot. All right. So that's interesting. Interesting. Howdy, John Wayne, Stephanie says. All right. All right. I'm waiting for some feedback on this 100 men versus one gorilla. Who would win? Who would win? Because I want to carry it a little further once I start getting a little, a couple answers here. Brad says, I remember the Chiller Night pre-show that you went to Conneaut Lake Park Halloween edition in October of 2019. I had to cover for you while with the Have a Good Night, Have a Good Chiller Night. Was that in 2019, really? Was it really? 2019. I would have thought it was before that, but maybe it was 2019. Yeah, I know. We spent most of the time standing in line because I had no idea Conneaut Lake Park and their haunted attraction that night would be that filled up. So we did. I mean, we kept it going. We extended the show. It was an extended version, and we went to the Devil's Den, which, if you're from the area, that's a dark ride that's been there forever. Just it's. I had to go on They used to have a really cool one called Dracula's Cave, but way back in the 60s and 70s. But yeah, the Devil's Den. Yeah, look it up. It's on there. What kind of gorilla? Silverback? Yes, silverback. Jason says 100 men would beat a gorilla. Who would win 100 apes from Planet of the Apes or Boba Fett? Well, it depends. Now are we looking at weaponry? Are we, does he have access to the Slave One ship? Do they have machine guns? I mean, I don't know. There's some variables here. But with the one man against a gorilla, it's just hand to hand, man to man, or man to gorilla. PBR says, I wanted to watch the new Manos. I really did. My eyes just rebelled and told me if I did, I would go blind. Stephanie says, it depends on the gorilla. All right. Well, the same could be said of the 100 men. They can be very passive, very, very timid. No, let's just say an average 100 men, and your average silverback gorilla. Patty says, well, any of those men facing the gorilla, nope, have guns, nets, pry bars, counterpoints. Nope, nothing. Hand to hand. hand-to-hand combat. Paul says, I would have to use my Supermanos Power 4 logo. PBR says, I vote on the men. Okay. And I think Jason said, okay, so we have 2 voting for the 100 men. That's immediately caught up. But I vote for the men, PBR says. John Wayne says, you over there in the UFC have all the guns, so why is Bill Gates still alive? LOL. I don't know. He's very elusive, apparently. Tom says, doesn't really matter. We're talking about less than 10 men. What? For what? We're talking about less than 10 men who would actually be, like, engaging this thing because of the amount. Brad says, but it was a lot of fun, good times. Yeah, it was. Jason says, Hellhole was great too at Conant Lake Park. Oh, man, I know. I used to get off that thing and then go get right back in line, and that was fun. Stephanie says, 100 men keep their distance from a silverback. John Wayne says, 1 man with a gun makes you like gorilla dead. Yes, he would. But these are, manos a manos. Heidi says, the men would win eventually. The gorilla would get tired. Don't ask me how many men it would take. Jason says, Grape Ape would beat 100 men. Now, we don't have no Grape Ape, no King Kong, no Mighty Joe Young. Is the gorilla Grog, Patty says. No, it's not Grog. It's just a silverback ape. You know, you're average, not a mild, not a timid ape, just an average ape. Same for the men. Brad says, and that, trying to get in the park, it was really a long line, was it, Brad? Yes, it was, very much. If it's Grog, all bets are off, PBR says, yes. Tom says, less than 10 men would be able to take on a silverback and win. Okay, so Tom says less than 10. Less than 10. 10 ordinary men. Remember the Hercules cartoon from back in the 60s? I think the 60s. They described Hercules at the beginning. Hercules, with the strength of 10 ordinary men. You know, not even like strong athletic men, but 10 ordinary men. I don't know that that's much to, I mean, it's very impressive, with a human, a regular human, but not a demigod like Hercules. All right, someone remember the movie Congo, Mutant Killer Gorillas? I do remember that. I went to the theater to see that, so I do remember that. All right, I believe that the men are going to be able to defeat 1 silverback gorilla. Everybody, online was saying, all these people were saying, oh, this gorilla would, 100 men. Yeah, maybe it could be 10. I don't know. I've never seen such a scenario take place, but just logic would tell me that, I don't know, the 10 men. I mean, that thing would be, I don't know who the 10 first men who would be attacking it. I don't know if some men would die, they would just die. But the question posed online was on 100 men. I definitely think 100 men are going to take 1 gorilla. So if it was a gorilla versus my ex-wife, I feel sorry for the ape, PBR says. Oh, poor thing. Let's see. I still remember the song George of the Jungle, Stephanie says. Tom says orangutans are the strongest primate. They are 7 times stronger than the average man. I would expect less than 10 men can take on a silverback. Yeah, the strength is one thing. The silverback, I know there's speed. There is the it can use its teeth even as a weapon. I mean, so could we in a much smaller scale. I don't know. I don't know if 10 men could do it. I don't know if 10 men could do it because of the viciousness of the silverback. There are certainly men who can be very vicious too. But which I watched that movie Wolf Man, and I think I was talking about that either last week or the week before. Now I don't know if that thing had like a super strength. I don't even know. All I know is it had quite a bit of speed. You know, it could run around and like the speed of a wolf. But the viciousness in which they made him, I could see even if he had the average strength of a man, his savageness, the viciousness of him would I you know that'd be tough. That'd be tough. You know, I don't know. I don't know that one man would be able to. An ordinary man would be able to take on a werewolf even like that. So humans would win with planning. Patty says. Perhaps so. Got to go, family. See you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Love you, family. Stay safe out there. All right, Paul. You too. Thanks for joining us tonight. Stephanie says, "Hey, where's Bones?" I mean, he was just with us just a little bit ago. A gorilla bites with a strength of 1,300 psi. John Wayne says that would hurt. Patty says, orangutans are smart. They are known as escape artists. Interesting. Okay. Conditions are a factor. Are they fighting in an elevator or the Walmart parking lot? I thought more of like a coliseum. like a gladiator situation. It'd have to be a large area because there's 100 men. If we're still going on the 100 men scenario. All right, so I haven't seen any. I don't think anybody has was rooting for the. Might have been rooting for the gorilla, but I don't think anybody was actually thinking that one gorilla could take on 100 men. I didn't see anybody. I don't think that would be possible. 100 men. I think people would underestimate the. I think if so, people are underestimating the strength and speed of an average man as well. So now I extend this question to, I just talked about Wolf Man, a werewolf. All right, let's cut that down because 100 men, that's just way too many. Let's take it down. Let's take it down to. Let's use Tom's scenario. 10. 10 men against a werewolf. And I understand it depends who's writing the movie. Some werewolves can, get into a fisticuffs with a man in the older movies. And a man can probably hold his own fairly well. A lot of the newer movies, werewolf, takes one shot, one swipe at somebody, and their head goes flying. So, but what do you think? 10 men against a werewolf? Like the ones in Rome, Brian? Stephanie says, yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's just, give them a good old gladiator scenario setting. And Brad says, coming soon to the public domain in January of 2026, the 1930 German science fiction horror film, Auron? Ever heard of the film, Brian? No. I've never heard of it, and I've evidently never even pronounced it before. So, no, it is. You say it's a 1930s German science fiction horror film. I've never heard of that. Now, what's that mean? What's that word mean? And I'm sure I'm not saying it right. Alraune. John Wayne, do you? Is that the? What is that? Auron? Aurain? I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Stephanie says, if you give 10 men some silver bullets, 10 men can beat a werewolf. They can. Okay. Well, we'll take it back to the hand to hand. 10 men against a werewolf. And I'm just saying average men. I'm going to say, because certainly, I don't know, if you still had like Wolfman, like on the movie Wolfman I saw, I'm sure there are some men who would be able to go one-on-one with this thing. Like, oh, of course Chuck Norris, yeah. But, oh, Tarzan, I mean, good Lord. In fact, get him on the gorilla. But in the movie Link, a smaller monkey was enough. They're practically just muscles. In the movie Links, a smaller monkey. Oh, I take nothing away from like a chimpanzee or especially a silverback gorilla. I know that they have incredible strength and they're just packed full of muscles, and their ability to run quick and to crush somebody with, if they're biting onto you, they're like somebody said, 1,300 psi of is the bite capacity of these things, the pressure. I don't know. I would say the 10 men against the werewolf again. I would say yes. I say the men would not win. PBR says the men would not win against the gorilla. Is that what you mean? Or are you saying against the werewolf? Tom says the 10 men would only be able to have the strength of the average constable in a Hammer horror film. Yes. And not like a constable in the Universal, or like the one constable, wasn't he a constable that had his arm, the son of Frankenstein? But wasn't that one of their constables played like Lionel Atwill, who had the wooden arm? And in Young Frankenstein, they were kind of making fun of that. Okay, let me get back on it. John Wayne says, all round mandrake is a plant root that is said to have magic abilities. Ah, okay. Now I wonder what in the world that movie is about. It's a German science fiction horror film. Wonder if it's like sorcery or witchcraft or even a werewolf. Yeah, I've never heard of that. The werewolf, PBR says. Okay. 10 men against a werewolf. Yeah, I think so. There are some movies, some versions of the werewolf that probably not going to happen. Like the Wolfman, the remake of the Wolfman, Universal's back in, what was it, 2010 maybe? Those werewolves, I mean, that one looked like he could just rip right through 10 guys pretty easily. In fact, I think he did in that movie. But he was catching them by surprise as well. So, some factors to throw in there. Patty says, in the song Werewolf by five-man acoustical band, it took just one man with a silver bell. Oh, with a silver bell. Interesting. Bells, the ringing, the tone of a bell is supposed to, isn't that an old myth or legend? Is the ringing of the bells is supposed to repel evil and demon forces, demonic entities, and evil. So maybe that had something to do with it. Stephanie says, Brian, are you talking about Son of Frankenstein or Young Frankenstein? Oh, I was talking about both, actually, because Young Frankenstein, they did a parody of that character off of Son of Frankenstein. So the one constable guy with the wooden arm. Because as a child, that constable had his arm ripped off by the monster, and so that's why he was had his wooden arm. Which is interesting because, you think about it, that's kind of vicious, to even be referring to that back in the 30s, in an old Universal monster movie. That the Frankenstein monster ripped off a little kid's arm. Patty says, only if the mandrake is man-shaped, dug up on a new moon under a gallows. Whoa! So there is, there's like rules to this, like a spell, like a spell, like go get the leg from a frog, but only on after midnight on a full moon, and use that. There's always got to be always a catch. I have to see if I can find the Alron movie, John Wayne says. I still don't know if I'm saying Alron is how it looks to me. Jason says, Michael J. Fox's Teen Wolf would lose to just 2 or 3 guys. Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't see him being too savage or vicious, but he could probably move around pretty quick. I think I remember him having some kind of extraordinary jumping ability. Christmas Werewolf, John Wayne says. Christmas Werewolf. There was something to that from Curse of the Werewolf. Remember how they explained it? A child born on Christmas Day, how that was a curse, and the husband said, how can that be a curse? Would that not be a joy, a blessing? And the wife explains, if I'm remembering this correctly, she says, oh no, according to legend, a child who is born on Christmas Day suffers the curse, the wrath of God, because that is the Lord's birthday, and so he's a jealous God and would give that's awful. Where are you getting these ideas? Like this, like there's a rule, but my goodness. No, he didn't ring the bell. He made a bullet out of it. Sorry, Patty says. Oh. Interesting. Well, then that definitely would work. The silver bullet. Yes, PBR says, it was the son of Frankenstein. Atwill was the guy with the wooden arm. Yeah, yep. Raymond says, Brian, hey, Raymond, thanks for joining us. PBR says, I just watched a movie with Atwill in it. Night Monster was the title. Good movie. Yeah, he's in so many of these movies, and I'm probably doing one coming up on Chiller Night Theater, new episodes. Like I said, that's my plan. I would like to, make that happen. I'm always a little leery of saying that too far in advance because I know what that's been like in the past when I've been working on the haunt projects with good intentions, and I get to a point to where I'm just so bogged down with work that I never get to it. So I'm saying that is my intent, my fine chiller maniacs, and so like I said, I would like to see it come back in some way, shape, or form, in some capacity. So I will be working on that, so we will see. But Lionel Atwill, I'm sure, will be in. He's got to be in one of these movies. I haven't heard about the gallows, but I've heard of the rest. John Wayne says, "Yeah, I haven't heard of any of that actually." Everyone's kind of saying hello to Raymond and each other here. So, good to have you with us, Raymond. Being born, John Wayne says, being born at Christmas is terrible. So you only get gifts once a year. Yeah, it was even worse back in the days, the time era that Curse of the Werewolf took place in. Because evidently, you not only got one gift one time a year, you could be a werewolf. That was the story. That's how the kid ended up. Well, that wasn't the only reason, but yeah, that was what the wife, she was telling her husband. Good movie, by the way. Probably one of my favorite werewolf movies. Curse of the Werewolf, starring Oliver Reed. Check it out if you haven't. You had to have seen that one. It's an old one from Hammer. Uh, Fantastic. Great werewolf look, just a good movie. Good story. Patty says, I understand my birthday falls on Bill due day the following month. I always got a promise of gifts, but well, that's no good. So, yes. And I try to see, like some of you, I see maybe on Facebook or whether it's your birthday or not. So I try to acknowledge that. If anybody's had a birthday within the week, let me know. We will wish you a happy birthday. But Tom says, being made into a werewolf ain't much of a gift. No, no, I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so. Um, I wouldn't like it. It would be, in my opinion, kind of like, kind of like um, an addict, who would not want to go back to using, what drugs or alcohol or whatever they're addicted to. That moment where they fall back into this world of ugliness, and there's nothing that they can do, or they well, in a werewolf case, no, but there's nothing they can do, or they feel that way, and then every time they do, they just feel like horrible, like they've dehumanized in some way. That's they've lost a bit of themselves every time, and I can only imagine that being the case with a werewolf. 100 times more, because you're actually going out and killing, and then you have no control, nothing. You might have a vague memory of it the next day. Some blood on the hands, some dirt on the feet. So, Patty says, there used to be a belief in France that if one was born on Christmas Day, they will be a werewolf. There you go. There you go. That must have been what they used for the story of Curse of the Werewolf. They told that story. I was born after Christmas, Stephanie says. I was born really, well, I guess. You know what? Never mind. I guess you could look at it either way, before or after Christmas. Uh, John Wayne says, well, before Christmas of 1968, John Wayne says, I knew somebody who had his birthday on the 1st of April. No one believed the poor guy that it was his birthday. Stephanie says, poor guy. Tom says, you should hoe back and watch this stream, Brian. You have CDS bit of a strange echo. Not bad, but never heard it before. I wonder then, let me try something here. Let me try something. I'm going to do it right now. I appreciate the feedback. Let's see. Let's see if this is going to change anything. Monitor, testing, testing, testing. How about now? Monitor and output. Testing, testing. Let me know, let me know. Anybody? Can you hear me? He's not dead, his lips are moving. Nosferatu. Silent horror. Today's topic, silent horror movies. Alright, anybody, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. Let's see. Sound is back. Patty says. There you go, Brian. Okay, now let me try the opening to see if we have opening sound. Here. Okay, now I don't see anything here. That was weird. Okay, now with that adjustment, we're now. Are you able to? I'm getting that you can hear me now. And what about the opening? Because I'm kind of curious if that worked. We were talking about our lawn, right? Brad says. Yes. Well, that was one of the things we were talking about. Yes. Yes. I'm going back to see if there was any other, if there's any feedback. Brian says, I'm very, very late. Oh, hey, Brian, thanks for joining us. Opening has sound, Patty says. All right, awesome. PPR says, he's not dead, his lips are moving. He made me laugh out loud. Sound for intros there. Awesome. Okay, cool. Echo is worse? Uh-oh. The echo is worse right now. All right, so this is a good time to do this. Maybe not for you, but it helps me. Let's see, what in the world would be the way to fix this? Monitor and output. Let me try something. Hello, testing, testing, testing. If anybody asks, I'm okay. The sound for the opening is good. I'm just scared the dickens. It just scared the dickens out of me, Stephanie says. Oh no, it was nice and loud, huh? Do you hear me now? I did give you the plot for the film, Brian. Yes, yes. That's what I figured you were doing there. Yep. I've just never seen that movie. Never seen it. Now somebody let me know if you can hear me now. I'm trying to get all this fixed before next week. You know, if we can get it, we got a few minutes. If we can get that fixed tonight, all the better. It's not like we can't understand you, just a bit of a shallow echo. Ah, that's cool. I appreciate that. But, you know, if we can fix it, but because I have no way of, actually, the echo is gone now. All right, so what I didn't hear, what I did do. I hear you, Brian says. All right, cool. So I'll just take a picture of this so that I'll know how to set this thing so that you can hear the intro and my voice without an echo. I don't want an echo. That would be annoying. I don't want to annoy you guys and gals. You sound awesome now. All right, very cool. Now Stephanie had said that the music was very loud. I'm gonna hit it again. All right, I lowered it a little bit. So hopefully that didn't blast your ears out. Patty says, sounds okay now to me. All right, thank you, Patty. Stephanie says, love the shirt, Brian. Ah, thank you. The Mandalorian. Cool show. First 2 seasons were, anyways. John says, you have been watching Chiller Night Live with Bryan Hogue. This is Crozak the Grand reminding you to watch out for the cicadas. Yeah, if I'm saying that right. I know what you're talking about. They are something, aren't they? Let's make next week's show on the great bug horror movies. Until next week, stay chilled and keep through. There you go. There's a topic. All right. I don't know how much planning I will be able to do, but come next week with your great bug horror movies in mind, and we'll talk about that. Very cool. Thank you, John. Patty says, Brian, that She-Wolf of London was released in the U.S. as Love and Curses. Oh, under that name instead of She-Wolf. Interesting. Patty showed me a picture of that series from the 90s, I believe she said. So Stephanie gave me a thumbs up. All right. So I take it that your ears weren't abused too much there. Brad says, I mean, we'll talk more about our lawn next week, Brian. Maybe that will be next week's topic. It sounds very interesting. We can talk about that and the giant bugs of horror movies as well. We got a couple things we can discuss. Music level is good with your adjustment. All right. Thank you, Tom. John says, with all the glitches, we should do 100 minutes, and then with luck, we'll get 60 minutes that are working. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. What's happening next week? Tom says. Well, we had John suggested we do great bug horror movies, and Brad's mentioning about the movie Arlon, the German science fiction horror movie that he was referring to. So Patty says them. All right, sounds good. Sounds good. Well, thank you everybody for joining me and each other for a night of Chiller Night Live. Have a good night. Have a good Chiller Night. We'll see you next week.